Hi, I'm Amy Sandler, host of the Radical Candor podcast. We're thrilled to introduce you to our new Radically Candid mini episodes. These bite-sized shows feature Kim giving radical candor tips. They're between 5 to 10 minutes long and will be released in between regular episodes. Enjoy it with a snack.
Radical Candor is fast, it's free. The only thing it requires is enormous emotional discipline. So that's why it's so important to practice on a regular basis. So one of the things that is most important to keep in mind is being humble. You may be wrong about what you're saying to this person, and that's okay. You don't have to be perfect to give great feedback. The reason I call it candor and not truth or something like that is because to me, candor says, here's what I see. I'm curious about what you see, and let's figure out if we can get to the truth together. So radical candor should embody that sort of humility of feedback. If you say to somebody, if you walk up to someone and say to them, I'm going to tell you the truth, you're kind of implying you don't know shit from Shinola, but I have a pipeline to God. And that is not the spirit of radical candor. It's not a great way to start a conversation. So you want to make sure you are being humble with the feedback you're giving. You also want to state your intention to be helpful. The point of radical candor is not to prove that you're smarter and the ultimate arbiter of what's good or bad. The point of radical candor is to help people, in the case of praise, know what to do more of, and help people, in the case of criticism, know what to do less of. So you want to make sure that you state your intention to be helpful. That will help open people up to the feedback that you have to give, both praise and criticism. And by the way, praise can go badly off the rails. There was a person I worked with at Apple who said she would ask these classes of people, how much time do you spend planning to give criticism? And people would say, I got to get all the facts right. How much time do you spend making sure you get the facts right with praise? Nobody was spending any time. And the fact of the matter is, if you praise the wrong person for doing the work, you can throw them under the bus or deeply discourage them. So you want to make sure to get that right. Next, you want to offer both praise and criticism immediately. If the point is to let people know what to do more of or less of, why wait? Feedback has a really short half-life. You want to do it immediately. Don't let things pile up. You also want to do it in person. You want to make sure that you are looking the person in the eye whenever possible. Put your phone away, look the person in the eye, and have a real human conversation. Now, of course, there are times when we're on a remote team, and in those cases, there's a hierarchy of medium. I think that a video call maybe gives you 60%, 70% fidelity of an in-person meeting. And so use those whenever possible. A phone call, at least you get some communication. You can hear the tenor of the person's voice, but just don't offer feedback over some kind of tool or texting. You don't break up over text, and you certainly shouldn't give praise over text. I don't know if a marriage proposal is really praise, but I one time had somebody fax me a marriage proposal. I did not marry him, I'm happy to say. So you want to make sure you have these important communications in person. You also want to praise in public, usually. I mean, there are some people on your team for whom public praise is cruel and unusual punishment. So most importantly, you want to know your people. But the reason why public praise is so important is not just to pump up people's egos, but because then it scales. You get to show the whole team what success looks like, and you get more of it. And you also want to think about making sure that when you offer someone criticism, you do that in private. Now, there's a big difference between criticism and debate. Debate, of course, has to happen in public. But when you're offering a person some criticism, you need to make sure you're doing it in private. Because if you do it in public, you often trigger the person's lizard brain. You trigger their fight or flight instinct. And when that part of our brains are engaged, we literally cannot hear. So you're just wasting your breath. Last but not least, you want to make sure that you never give either praise or criticism about someone's fundamental personality attributes. You want to make sure you're offering criticism about things that people can actually change. You want to make sure you're focusing on things that are relatively accessible to change. But the same is true for praise. For the same reason, you are too stupid would be terrible criticism. You're a genius is not great praise. It's not specific enough to let me know what to do more of. So you want to make sure that with your praise, you're not saying the kinds of things that you would say to your dog. Good job. Doesn't mean anything. Specific and sincere. So that is giving radical candor. So a simple framework you can use to make sure that you're not giving praise or criticism about personality attributes is CORE. Context, observation, results. So remind the person of the context. And by the way, if you've been giving feedback immediately, it takes a lot less time to remind them of the context because you were just in the context. But remind them in the meeting and then give the observation. So Cheryl's feedback to me was, you said every third word. So that was sort of her observation. And then she shared the result with me. It made you sound stupid. And that was what motivated me to change. So context, observation, result is going to help you offer both praise and criticism in a way that is more helpful to people. So remember, criticism is kind and clear. Praise is specific and sincere.
Thanks for joining us. Our podcast features Radical Candor co-founders Kim Scott and Jason Rosoff, is produced by our Director of Content, Brandy Neal, and hosted by me, Amy Sandler. Music is by Cliff Goldmacher. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter at Candor and find us online at radicalcandor.com.